Moscow, a city full of power, luxury and history, but far away from the well-known streets and tourist spots, a completely different world begins. Abandoned backyards, dark alleys and neighborhoods that even many locals avoid at night. That's exactly where I'll be spending the next 48 hours alone. Without any contacts, just with my camera, I wonder, are these neighborhoods really as dangerous as the internet claims? Or is a lot of it just a myth? Yeah, friends, today we're going into so-called no-go areas, places where you really shouldn't go. And we're not visiting just one area, not two, but three. And the first area is Guglianova district. Guglianova district is located in the east of Moscow. It's one of the largest districts in the city, both in terms of area and population. In the 17th century, Guglianova was still a small village, but starting in the 1960s, it was incorporated into Moscow. Surprisingly, this part of the city is only 9 kilometers from the center. I could use taxis, which are also cheap, but in Moscow the metro is a real treat. Lately, I've been taking it exclusively. When you arrive, you immediately see one or two babushkas selling goods in the metro. Naturally, you wouldn't want that in the city center. We've reached the final stop of this line. And this is supposed to be a so-called bad neighborhood, so this was the first district that many people warned me about, and honestly I kind of understood why. Dilapidated infrastructure and endless apartment blocks dominated the cityscape. My first impression was dystopian. Here in this area, there's also an abandoned high-rise. You can see it, 132 meters tall. That used to be a retail and office complex. And it closed down. I think the economic situation in this neighborhood isn't too good either. Apparently there was no more demand. You can see it's being torn down bit by bit. That used to be, well, an occupied building. So much new construction is happening here. It's crazy. You see crows everywhere in the whole area. Everywhere, yeah, high-rises, apartment blocks. Some of them extremely modern too. That means sure, maybe this area isn't the very best, but you can see these buildings are newly built here and they also look more modern overall. It feels like a completely new city is being created here, and actually that feeling isn't far off, because this district is part of Moscow's 57 billion city renewal program. Thousands of Soviet-era buildings are set to be replaced by modern skyscrapers, but how advanced are these new residential complexes and what lies behind their facades? To find that out, I headed farther in to Guglianova. Look at these modern residential buildings. You can really relax here in the summer. You have a beauty salon here, so this is like a small city, right? That's how people live outside of Moscow, outside the city center. Yes, in their own little city. There are small shops everywhere here. You can buy beer, another nice cafe. So, sure, you have to like that. But actually, if I'm honest, yeah, it's really well done, right? And yeah, in Germany there are apartment blocks and neighborhoods that don't look like this. You see now guys, this looks really hip. Do you see that? Those are upscale cafes where people work together. It's also my first time in places like this. But yeah, you can see again, these were built here relatively recently. Write in the comments, can you imagine living in a place like this? Or rather not. And you also have quite a bit here for the kids. I think the playground is really impressive. You really can't complain about that. I just wanted to show you this again, because when I show you these abandoned buildings and deserted places, you might quickly think, what kind of horror place is this? But it's actually really fine, or rather super modern to be honest. Like I said, for me, living in these huge buildings wouldn't be my thing either. I think Moscow has more in common with New York than you might think. There are definitely neighborhoods in New York that have a similar vibe, and of course there are supermarkets here too. And not just some small kiosks, but yeah, big ones. The video was supposed to be about the worst areas in Moscow, but I want to test it transparently and openly, so what's good here and what's not so good. You see, there are these abandoned parts, which are obviously not so good, but otherwise you have everything here. I heard about this area from a blogger named Ellie from Russia who shot a video here 4 years ago and said this is a no-go area. And the interesting thing is, she stood right here back then. In her video, you can see this building and the orange one, but otherwise, there is nothing here. It's just emptiness, empty space. That means everything was built up here in the last 4 years. Now you see how it looks now. And now you can see on the screen how it looked here 4 years ago. Or view it from this angle. Here you can see everything has been redone. Here you see the 2 or 3 buildings from this perspective, right? Now take a look at how it looked 4 years ago. That shows me that in Moscow everything must move fast. Less bureaucracy and less construction, well, construction regulations, I suppose. Because putting all this up here in 4 years, that's exactly the same as in China. That's unimaginable in Germany. That's unimaginable. It's beautiful here. People told me that this area isn't very nice, but as I walk around, it's modern, contemporary, good. But there's a lot of construction. Well, yes, of course. There's a lot of construction there. These are the houses right here, the ones you see. And many of these houses are part of the redevelopment program. There used to be old houses here, 5-story buildings, and there was just emptiness as well. So now this whole area, all of this is going to be built up, I see. Also, this area was a bit of a flop, but definitely not as bad as it was described on the internet. But yeah, this is the first of 3. We're now going to the other 2 regions, but before we continued, I first got something to eat in a cafeteria, but then everything turned out differently than I expected. That's because I met Igor. First, I got a complimentary vodka shot, which I balanced with a pickled cucumber. Next was a 40% shot, but it didn't taste very good. Okay guys, off camera, there was also some port wine and another vodka. I don't even know why I went along with it. Guys, I'm really pretty drunk. I have to say, that was pure hospitality. He poured out 3 or 4 things for me for free. In that state, I'm heading to the second no-go area. The second area I looked at was called BirolioweSapadnoe. This area appears on Reddit on the subreddit Urban Hell, in German, Großstadt Hölle, which means Big City Hell. The post got a total of 1,412 upvotes, which means a lot of people agree with that description. One comment under this post especially caught my attention. I spent my childhood there in the 90s. I remember 2 typical activities of the teenagers on the street. Mass brawls between neighborhoods and staring at corpses. To be honest guys, I hope that comment was just a stupid joke. Anyway, this neighborhood is in the south of Moscow, about 60 to 90 minutes by train from the city center. So guys, I've now arrived drunk in the south of Moscow, an hour outside the center. And yeah, you have to imagine, here in the south the air is pretty bad. That's why nobody wants to live here. Most people prefer to live in the north of Moscow. And yeah, that's why this is considered a bad area. An area where you actually don't want to be. And if I turn the camera around now, you'll see why. You have these huge power plants here. You can already see how they're releasing the exhaust fumes, so you can imagine how bad the air is. And here you can see, yeah, people just live in the residential buildings, right next to these power plants. And yeah. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but to me, the air here also doesn't smell that good, to be honest. Kind of chemical. But otherwise, at first glance, it's just a normal Russian suburb. You have a Russian flag here, a school. Even the children are playing here in the schoolyard. Yes. While things are going on here, so to speak. At the power plant. And then you can go for a walk here. And as I said, guys, the main drawback is, as I said, these heat and power plants. There are also cooling towers here. It just doesn't look nice. The air is bad, but otherwise you can go for a normal walk here. Hi, how are you? I'm a vlogger.
English one?
Yes, an English one. I'm writing yes. How's it going in this area? Good. Bad, right? Bad, because it's unusual to have such an industry here.
Yes.
The people here are bad. The people, yes. The people are bad. The people are terrible, but you are good. Yes. And is it normal or bad? No, the wind is normal. Normal, yes, it's normal.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Have a nice day. You see, the youth here are definitely okay, but they say yes, the people in the area aren't that nice, there are bad people around here. The things I do for YouTube videos, you know guys, instead of enjoying my time in the city center on my last day here in Moscow, because I'm leaving tomorrow, I'm spending an hour traveling out of the center to look at power plants. But yeah, it's interesting for a change. Pretty impressive scale. I think if I stand in front of it now, you can really see how tall and big these things are. It's quite a sight. Guys, at least this place has a map of everything. There's a playground, a training park, a dog park, and you can see exactly what you can do here. The area isn't that bad after all. A bike route runs through the park, but the power plants are a minor annoyance. Now the shoulder has space, and Klaus places the chair everywhere. It's a tets. And the people who live here, does it matter to them or not? The people here have it bad, but this is a beautiful park.
There is coffee here. Coffee.
Yep. And is the air normal or bad here?
It's normal. I live here myself. I like it here.
Ignore the power plants behind you for a moment. Now imagine it's summer. Then this place isn't so bad after all. You can sit down. Yeah, there are benches everywhere. The whole area is full of parks. So, I've been walking through the park here for 15 minutes already. There's a playground there and another sports field with various equipment. So, as I said, right now everything looks a bit bleak here, but especially in the summer, this neighborhood is actually pretty well equipped. You can come here to work out as usual, and if you look further, you can see people sitting back there on the swings, and yeah, people are just hanging out. I just try to see the positive side in everything. And yeah, the initial shock with these power plants is overwhelming at first, but once you get used to it, it's actually okay. There are definitely still positive things worth highlighting. But yeah, I wouldn't want to live here. Especially now, with this view, I don't think I could get used to it. Then we took the bus to the next infamous district of the Russian capital. It's called Kaputnaya district, and as you can see from the skyline, if you can even call it a skyline, it's very industrial. Honestly, I only took you through this part in voiceover because there wasn't much to see. The area has bad air, it's not particularly nice, but I didn't find it dangerous at all and there was really nothing to see. Normal people live in houses and there are playgrounds right next to this industrial area. The area really seemed normal, which means there wasn't much to show here, but people don't dislike living here just because of the bad air. The fourth and last area in this video is the Ismailova district, which I already showed you 2 years ago. Back then, it was mainly about the cityscape and the famous market of the neighborhood. It's interesting that many migrants and international students from Africa live here, which causes some tension among certain residents.
There are so many black people now, it's kind of terrible. We're just not used to it. Now, Central Asians, they're kind of like us, Central Asia.
You know,
Central Asia?
Turkmens?
Tajiks?
Yes, the Soviet
Union, but now there are many from India, especially here at the market, a lot of Arabs, because now the ruble is cheap. The ruble is cheap.
Especially remarkable is Ismailova Stadium, where many migrants live today. Originally, this stadium was supposed to become the largest in the world, even though probably very few people have ever heard of it. The story behind it is quite extraordinary. In the 1930s, Stalin decided to build a gigantic stadium on an Olympic scale. It was planned to have a capacity of around 200,000 people. The stadium was not only intended for sporting events, but also for military parades. Construction began in 1936, but was interrupted after only 3 years due to the Soviet-Finnish War. Shortly afterwards, World War II began, and there was no longer any funding for such a prestige project. It was not until the 1960s that the stadium was finally completed, but in a much simpler form and far from the original plans. Today, it is mainly used by students from the nearby university for training. Many migrants, especially from Central Asia, also live within the stadium complex. As you can see, up to 8 people often share a room there under hostel-like conditions, with a direct view of the stadium. The stadium's accommodations serve as an improvised workers' dormitory, and are among the few affordable options for living near central Moscow. By the way, one reason why so many migrants live and work here is the Cherkizovsky market. It was one of the largest markets in Europe in the 1990s and 2000s, where tens of thousands of migrants worked. I already visited a worse neighborhood here 2 years ago. Today, we checked out some more, and I have to honestly tell you, as of today, the series is coming to an end. Because, of course, there are areas here in Moscow that are grey, not aesthetically pleasing, and maybe the air quality isn't particularly good either. But it's absolutely not dangerous. And that's why, yeah, this idea of no-go areas or bad neighborhoods in Moscow doesn't really make much sense. Still, it's interesting to see how maybe the average Russian lives outside the city center here in Moscow. But yeah, this will be the last video of this kind in Moscow, I'd say. But it's also cool because we've kind of debunked the myth that there are really dangerous or no-go areas here in Moscow. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, feel free to support the channel by subscribing. We'll see each other again soon. Until then, bye.